Hey friends, welcome back to Rita Talks. I'm Rita, and on this YouTube channel, I just share some of the thoughts, ideas that I've been thinking about. And in today's video, I'm just gonna give like a quick overview of my day and how it went, and basically just give an update of how the day went. So today was Sunday, and it was quite an interesting day because I had a wonderful night of sleep yesterday evening, and now I'm messing up already my sleep schedule because it's 4 a.m. already. So how fun! As usual, that's to be expected, you know. Hopefully someday I will be able to get my sleep schedule under control again. But you know, here we are. We're just dealing with you know what we have right now, and that's okay. So today was actually quite a cool day because uh, I I basically you know worked out, went for an afternoon walk, and then came back home and I filmed uh, a video for my main channel. So I was hoping that I could edit it today, but it's okay. I was a bit depleted, so you know I did the filming. It took longer than I thought, and it took much more effort than I thought it was gonna take. But that's okay. I'm learning with this whole process. I mean, on this channel, it's like I mean it's effortless, but that's by design because the point of this channel is just to get me used to talking and basically expressing my thoughts and basically synthesizing my thoughts on a very, very regular basis. So daily, if I'm here at home. So basically, the point of this channel is just you know to get uh, the reps in terms of talking to a camera, expressing my thoughts, and basically synthesizing my thoughts in a way that's hopefully, you know, comprehensible to you all, and maybe you can follow along on my journey. And also for me, it's good to see the progress that I've been making and how far I've come. And also, this serves as my journal. So, you know, instead of writing down something, of course, I like to write down my thoughts. Like whenever I have like some interesting thoughts, I just take out my notes app and I start typing away whatever I'm feeling in that specific moment, or uh, whatever I'm thinking. And basically, this channel is just for me to ramble on for a bit, talk about my day, and just talk about some of the thoughts that I've been thinking about. And yeah, I just one thing that was interesting to me today is that I was listening to this guy, what's his name? Chris something. I'm just pulling up my Spotify history so that I can tell you. Uh, so this guy from Modern Wisdom, what's his name? I'm just gonna look up his um, Modern Wisdom. Chris Williamson. And it's a bit weird because I feel like this guy, even though some of his content is super interesting, I feel like he's way too focused on the male perspective. And honestly, it's just kind of weird to listen to some episodes like the episode that I was listening to today was why do millions of men not want to work? Another episode that I was listening to the other day, or I think it's not one that I was listening to the other day, but I was I think he was on another podcast. I think he was on the Diary of a CEO podcast, and he was talking about men and stuff like that. But another name of an episode that is interesting is like, why are young men feeling so lost? Like this is insane because this is definitely not meant for me. Probably maybe his target audience is like the opposite of me, so like the opposite of a feminist woman, basically. And it just feels like this content, I mean, that's just the impression that I got from his at least this podcast episode, is that he's so intent on maintaining the like, oh, men used to be like this, and why are men not as great as they used to be? And it's like, oh, like it's a bit weird, but it has a bit of a I don't want to be like pointing fingers or anything, but it feels a bit like he's missing the part that you know like men have had it easy for a very long time, and basically were able to be on top by oppressing women, and especially white men, or basically European slash American men have had it very easy in terms of you know like the standards were not inclusive to people from other like less wealthy backgrounds, and very male white dominated, especially in US. And it's like it's like saying oh yeah, now that women are successful, and all of this kind of stuff, why are men not living up to not being as good as they were before, and all of this stuff, and then trying to problem solve for that, and then trying to find excuses for why men actually are not performing as well in society and everything. And I feel like that comes from a bit of an entitled place, because honestly, I mean, I don't know what it's like to be a man for sure, but I mean, I can empathize to a certain point, like depending on the mindset and on the situation that you're in. For sure, it's like not like sometimes your circumstances are not within your control, but there's also always something you can do. And I feel like the issues that minorities and and women are dealing with in the workforce, or like in life in general, are like, not to diminish of the experiences of men, for sure they also have hard experiences, but I'm just saying that it's like, if you look at it in terms of work and like just life, how life treats both of these groups of people, I mean, you can see from the data that like men are treated pretty well compared to the other groups of people, and especially white men. So it's a bit weird to hear, the devil's advocate. Like, basically in this episode, he was saying, "Oh yeah, like there, like, okay, so there's this researcher, I guess, or I don't know, like he looks into data, and yeah, his name is Nicholas Eberstadt, and basically he was talking about some data point that he found out that around 6 million men in the US, 6 to 7 million men in the US are unemployed and are not seeking work, and are not interested in basically getting a job. And apparently the biggest demographic is white men who are US born and who are single, between 25 and I think 55. So that's apparently the time that you're supposed to be looking for work, etc. And these men are not, enrolled in school. They're not like, they're excluding people who are incarcerated, excluding people who are in mental health institutions, or people who are in school. So just to count this demographic. And it's like, okay, that's interesting, yes, that there are 6 to 7 million men who are not interested in work, and apparently most of the time that they spend is in front of screens. So what they do all day is just stand in front of screens, and it's just a bit of an interesting perspective, because I really want to emphasize, like, that's why I listen to these podcasts that I don't necessarily agree with. Like, I'm trying to really understand other people's perspectives and try to empathize with them and follow their reasoning. But this just feels a bit wrong to me, and maybe that's because I'm so used to content that's, I don't know, that a bit aligns, I guess, with my points of view. And I just thought that this was interesting in the sense, like I'm trying to express my thoughts in an accurate way. But what was striking to me is that he was like pointing out the fact that like these men were basically in the second quintile of wealth. So basically, these men are not poor, and basically he was describing this state of misery, not not poverty, misery, but not poverty, I guess. And this man just seemed like, I guess he was talking about depression and not feeling valued and all of this stuff. And I mean, I was thinking about this, and I was thinking that maybe one of the reasons that this is the case is that their expectations are different from reality. Like they expect as men to be treated differently, or like it comes from a place of entitlement that I don't know how to say it. I mean, I don't know if what I'm saying is making much sense, but I'm just trying to make sense of it in my head. I'm just trying to understand why I disagree with this, so that maybe I can reach a higher understanding of what this episode is actually trying to convey and the message that's being conveyed here. So definitely not a criticism. I'm just trying to understand and like align the data points that I have in my head from other readings and other information sources with this new data point that I've just added to my head. And it just felt like, I mean, I keep saying it just felt like, but I really am trying to wrap my head around it. That, it's uh, like these people are by no means poor, so they're not in a huge disadvantage. They have their basic needs being met, and they spend their time in front of screens, and basically they feel like that their self-esteem is not very high, and all of this stuff, because I guess, I don't know, they like, that's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, why would that be an issue? Like, okay, you have good enough circumstances that you should be able to succeed, and why are you not succeeding? And to me it seems like from like personal choice, like it's actually their fault that they're in that situation, because it seems to me that it's like lack of discipline or something. I don't know. It's like trying to put the blame on society, where actually the blame is to put on the individuals themselves. But I don't know if what I think, like the way that I see this is true, because I certainly don't know what these people are going through and what's going through their minds, and where to draw the line between, this is a societal problem versus this is like a personal problem and a problem of ownership and taking responsibility for yourself. We are all responsible for ourselves, yeah, for sure. Some of us had more privilege than others. I for sure have been privileged in my life, and it's just interesting to me to try to understand these topics. Anyway, I'm just gonna stop rambling about this, but like you can clearly see that I'm struggling to wrap my head around, what this episode was trying to like to outline. And yeah, he was making a similar point about dating and stuff like that. Like in the episode that I watched, I think that I listened to on the Diary of a CEO, his episode there, about how women's standards are too high. Basically, women should be able to settle for less, and like I don't know. It just felt a bit weird because, you know, like if you're very well educated, you usually expect that you should like you would meet someone who's also well educated and like partner up with someone on the same level as you, or basically someone who will help you grow in your life, and you tend to not make decisions based on this logic that you know you're looking for someone to help you grow, but I mean, from my perspective, they seem to be making partnering up decisions based on external factors such as beauty, how I like youth, and like factors that are not necessarily measurable, or I don't know, significant in terms of quality. I mean, I guess I'm rambling, but I don't know why I'm so uncomfortable with this, and I'm just trying to figure it out. But I mean, I definitely am subscribed to this podcast. So I really want to learn more from this perspective and just try to find like what are the levers that affect any of these issues, because these issues actually also relate to women's issues, because as long as we have disagreeing views between, like, you have incels versus feminists, and you're like, oh, everyone is just screaming in their own camp, basically, and not acknowledging other people's the other group's issues, and you're like, uh, there's a trouble empathizing with the other group, and really I am trying to understand this perspective so that uh, you know uh, we can maybe uh, have more constructive discussions that actually benefit everyone, because I genuinely believe that there is a universal truth, and that like a lot of the problems in life come from misunderstandings, and basically the best way to solve problems in life is just to get to the root of the misunderstanding, and then get the absolute truth from an objective standpoint, and then trickle down the reasoning from there, and just build your way back up from uh, similar points of agreement, so similar assumptions, and basically questioning the assumptions that you're making along the way. So it's like basically a huge tree, a huge decision tree, basically. Like at this point, you are making assumption X, and then from this point on, you're building on assumption X to say this thing, to conclude X, Y, Z, like X, Y, Z, and then once you conclude X, Y, Z, you're making X assumption to basically trickle down the tree. And the idea is that you are putting a feedback loop at each one of these steps. Like, is assumption X actually true? And sometimes we get stuck in remembering only the last bit, so which is the conclusion, and we forget all of the assumptions that we made that led to that conclusion, and that causes disagreement, because maybe that assumption is no longer valid, and so this conclusion as a result is probably no longer valid either, and that's probably the cause of the disagreement that happens between the two parties. And I guess, yeah, that's really how I view the world, and I'm just trying to find, like, to go back up to the core assumptions that are being made, and to understand how we can align those core assumptions and basically have feedback mechanisms that make sure that those assumptions are still being met when we are jumping to a conclusion. and basically determine the cases in which they are not being met, because in my opinion it's even more important to know the cases when these assumptions are not being met than when they are being met, because that's where all of the problems arise. I feel like in our life is that we forget that we made some assumption, and then we just keep like operating as if that assumption was still true, and we forgot that we made that assumption and it's no longer valid. And so it's time to pivot and take another approach. And so it's super important to know that part, even though it's like maybe 1% of the time that happens, but that 1% of the time is, I feel like, even more important than the 99% of the time where you are right. So where the assumption holds, you know. So yeah, it's a bit interesting. I don't know. I'm just trying to make sense of these things and have an open mind and basically have an open approach to these topics. And this is definitely not not like a fight thing where I'm trying to criticize other people. I'm just trying to think critically about things, even though clearly my thinking is not very does not make a lot of sense. But I guess it's by trying to make sense of things that don't make a lot of sense over and over again that eventually they would make sense. So I'm hoping that through the power of repetition, or basically continued thinking about these topics, that I will hopefully be able to reach a conclusion that that aligns with the truth, and uh, you know, be able to do something productive with it. So yeah, that's about all I wanted to talk about for today. Super interesting day. I filmed, I think I mentioned it earlier, one of my main channel videos, which was interesting. Also listened to some podcasts, as I just talked about. Finished the book from the diary of a CEO. Founder, I guess, so Stephen Bartlett, Happy Sexy Millionaire. I only had a few, like maybe 10 or 20 minutes left, so I finished it today. It was super good. I love this book. Definitely recommend reading it. Super inspiring. Love the mental models that are shared there. Huge shout out to Stephen Bartlett for his podcast and his book. And also was listening to Arnold Schwarzenegger's book, which is actually super cool because he tells some stories that are super funny and light-hearted. And I love this approach of viewing the world where you don't take the world so seriously. And this is like a bit of the playfulness that I liked when I listened to Richard Feynman's book. Surely you're joking, Mr. Feynman. So yeah, I love when I listen to people who view the world in a playful way. I just find that super interesting and inspiring. So definitely recommend that one too. Anyway, thanks a lot for tuning in today. You can click here to watch my previous video on this channel, and you can click here to watch my latest video on the channel. So yeah, I guess thanks a lot for sticking with me through the end, and I will hopefully see you in the next one, I guess. So bye for now, and yeah, see you then. Bye bye.